to the 2018 NCAA Selection Show. I'm Greg Gumbel.
There's no sporting event, quite like March Madness. You play at a stage when the NCAA captures the attention of the entire country.
And this is where the good stuff comes in.
The Rhode Island Rams out of the Atlantic 10.
Auburn University in the tournament. Tennessee Volunteers, the Clemson Tigers.
Ohio State out of the Big Ten.
The Wolfpack of Nevada.
Loyola Chicago, 28-5.
We're excited to go to Dallas. When this is all done, we're going to get after it.
We're playing for the national championship. That's what this tournament's all about. And this team has earned the right to be in that position, and it's precious and few.
I don't even know how to put in words. It's just a feeling that we dream about.
We scheduled overly aggressive, so I'm just so happy that the committee not only recognized that to get us in, but then looked at our whole body of work to give us a 7 seed. Is really, really awesome.
We like that.
It's going to be something that they're never going to forget.
Moments away from today's coverage beginning. You see Rhode Island getting off the bus, and you see the Oklahoma Sooners. They are ready to get it on. March Madness is on and popping. I think we know who that guy is. There's a nice backpack, by the way. And there is Studio F, Casey Stern. March Madness is going down on True TV and CBS. You will see him, Brendan Haywood, Candace Parker, and Seth Davis in studio, giving you all the information that you need. And there is the War Room. That is where we are located. Who are we? My name is Parrish, and of course, the legend Andy Katz from NCAA.com joining us this morning. It's March Madness morning. We're getting you hyped, getting you all the previews, all the information that you need to know before we get these games started.
This is the greatest day in the American sports calendar. Forget that game they play with that weird-looking ball. That's one day a year. This is for 3 weeks, so this is day one of it when everything gets going.
Yes, it is.
Take off work, make sure you watch our March Madness live app, or stay at work and just don't pay attention.
Of course. The first 4 is complete. The round of 64 begins, just in case you didn't know. Once again, Andy Katz from NCAA.com. We're so happy to have you because we know that you have all the knowledge that we need to get us right for this tournament.
Well, I would think so. And certainly, I've already gone 1-1 in the first 4.
Okay.
I didn't pick the 16s. I don't think a lot of people do. Although I'm very happy for Texas Southern and Mike Davis, especially in that one, and Derek Kellogg and LIU. But let me just tell you, the ASU-Syracuse game might not have been great basketball, but it was certainly exciting. Came down to the last couple possessions. I had ASU advancing, so I was wrong there. But I did have the night before the Bonnies.
Nice. Well, we're going to talk about the Bonnies in a second, but let's get this thing started properly in the South. So, a lot of different injuries that we've seen in the South so far. So, how are those particular injuries, maybe talking about Kansas State and the Longhorns, UVA as well, how are those injuries going to affect this bracket?
Well, yeah, Dean Wade did not play for K-State in their Big 12 tournament semifinal loss to Kansas. So his status will be interesting to see what happens with this game against Creighton. You mentioned Mo Bamba at Texas. He's been banged up. They're obviously going to need him against the Martin twins in Nevada in that 7-10 matchup. You just heard Eric Musselman talk about the respect from the committee in their overall work to give them a 7 when they won the Mountain West Conference tournament. But the biggest one that I think a lot of people are going to be maybe shaking up their brackets is DeAndre Hunter from Virginia. The fact that he is out because he had been really sort of the X factor offensively to complement Kyle Guy and Jeremy. So, I mean, that is a huge loss for Virginia. As you see, they're the ACC Sixth Man of the Year.
No doubt about it. Kyle Guy sending a tweet out to his teammate. It won't be the same without you, my brother, but we know we got this. We're trying to win this one for him.
Yeah, Ty Jerome, excuse me. Yes, look, with Kyle Guy, there's going to be more pressure on Guy and Jerome to step up offensively without Hunter.
So, out of this bracket, which team, or I should say which player, will be able to take his team and put him on his back and carry them perhaps to the Final Four?
Well, there's 2. If you're going to go all the way to the Final Four, then it's DeAndre Ayton from Arizona. I mean, he's the guy that legitimately can take a team literally on his back and carry them to the Final Four. I mean, he could go for 30 and 20. He's that special. If you want a player who at least will advance a round or 2, it's Marcus Foster from Creighton, especially because of the unknown with K-State right now and Dean Wade. Foster hit big shots in the Big East this season. He had a game winner against DePaul. Now, he struggled in the Big East tournament in the end of regulation against Providence, not able to get a shot off. They weren't able to win against the Friars in overtime. But he has that capability, and, you know, it's just kind of bizarre that he came from K-State, he's playing for Creighton, and now you got Creighton, K-State.
There it is, coming right together.
Look, I believe in the selection committee. They don't do these kinds of things, but that one is pretty unique.
It is unique indeed. DeAndre Ayton. Charles Barkley, by the way, said most talented player he's seen in 20 years, so it'll be interesting to see what Arizona does.
I mean, he's a man. I mean, he comes in, and I'll say this, you know, and you're used to obviously covering a lot of NBA too. I saw LeBron James coming out of high school, covered his high school games. He was physically mature. I mean, he looked like an adult man. DeAndre Ayton looks like that too. You know, you don't see that at 17, 18 years old, and Ayton has a body that he can immediately step into the NBA and be fine. Speaking
about physically mature, a lot of our viewers right now on all social media platforms are mature. In fact, let's go to one of those who are very mature, who has a question from us from Twitter. Do you think that Texas has any chance on making a Cinderella run?
The answer is no, in large part because I don't think they're going to get by. Well, first of all, even if they get by Nevada, I don't think they're going to get by Cincinnati. So I don't see them in the Sweet 16. They've just been too inconsistent this season. You know, look, they had to deal with the tragic diagnosis of Andrew Jones, who's battling leukemia, these injuries to Mo Bamba. You know, I think it's great that they made it because of all the things they had to deal with. I just can't see them getting to the second weekend.
No doubt. Shaka Smart definitely has his work cut out for him with the UT Longhorns. Time to move on, going to the West bracket. Xavier is the #1 seed. So in this bracket, who is the most intriguing matchup that you see?
Well, I mentioned Providence in the Big East, and that's the one that I'm circling, the 7-10 matchups. I think the 7-10s are great in the entire bracket. But Texas A&M against Providence, the Aggies were sort of the hardest team to gauge this season. Early in the year, looked tremendous when they knocked off West Virginia and Germany. They had suspensions, injuries. Then it looked like things were settling down. Then they had more suspensions. They've got unbelievable talent when they're whole, but they're not whole right now. The problem for the Aggies is on the perimeter. That's where actually they had the most suspensions. Whereas Providence's strength, with Cartwright on the perimeter, is the perimeter. And, you know, they've got that guard who can break you down, who's tough, physical. We saw 3 overtime games in the Big East tournament for the Friars. I think they go in that game with more momentum than Texas A&M. Remember, A&M lost at the buzzer to Alabama and Collin Sexton in the SEC tournament. So I think Providence goes in there, even though they're the 10, it'll look like an upset seed-wise. That would not be an upset for me, and I don't know what the lines or anything like that. I don't look at that.
No, you don't.
But I do think that people may call it a seed upset, but Providence being A&M would not be an upset for me.
So be on the lookout for the Friars. Speaking of upsets, people love upsets, people hate upsets, but who do you see in this bracket that could be potentially ready to upset somebody?
Well, the one that's really going to have to circle is Ohio State, in large part because the Buckeyes may have peaked earlier in the season. I saw them against Purdue in that last-second victory they had at Mackey Arena. Then they really struggled. They lost again to Penn State. They actually lost twice to Penn State in the last couple of weeks, 3 times in the season. South Dakota State, if you're looking for a potential upset, that's a 5-12 game, and always people are looking for the 5-12.
5-12, of course.
But Mike Daum is a jackrabbit by name, but not in persona there. It actually gave me a great definition of the difference between a jackrabbit and just a regular rabbit. Meaner, pointer your ears, just not an animal you want to mess with, the jackrabbit.
No.
And he made it sound like they're like kangaroos on campus, that they're just everywhere. But South Dakota State has experience in these kind of situations because they've played in the tournament before. Remember Nate Walters went there. So I think this program, not that all these guys were there before, but I still think they go in with a little bit more confidence coming out of the Summit League. And I'm not picking them to win, but if you want an upset pick, I think that could certainly happen.
Spoke about confidence. All these teams are definitely confident. However, is Xavier the most vulnerable #1 seed?
They are, not just because they were the 4th #1. They are because the team I think is going to come out of this bracket is in that bracket, and that's Michigan. The Wolverines won the Big Ten tournament title, 2nd year in a row. A lot of guys are back from that team. This is John Beilein's probably best defensive team since he's been at Michigan. They've got 2 great scorers coming off the bench in Duncan Robinson and Jordan Poole. And so I look at the Wolverines, and I'm probably not alone in this, as a 3 seed coming out of the West, they certainly could be the team that gets to the Final Four. You know, you look at their path, they'd have to, if everything held, they'd have to get by North Carolina, a team that rocked them in the ACC Big Ten Challenge in Chapel Hill, but they were a different team back then. That was way back in early December. They're playing much better basketball right now. They've found themselves, as most John Beilein teams do, this late in the season.
Indeed, on a hot streak, indeed, the Michigan Wolverines are. Let's take it to Twitter. We got another question for Katz right now, so we got to see what we got. Which team has the best chance of an upset from double digits in the tournament?
Well, we're not going to get to this.
Esquire 2.0. Very nice.
I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you one.
Give me one.
New Mexico State.
Really?
Yes. So New Mexico State is also in a 5-12 situation. I've got the Aggies going to the Sweet 16. I think they can knock off Clemson and then beat either Auburn or Charleston and get to the Sweet 16. Keep in mind also, in that foursome in San Diego, you know, we know a little geography here. New Mexico is closer to California than in South Carolina because you've got 3 schools from South Carolina and 1 from Alabama. So the Aggies will actually have a strong showing in San Diego in that bracket.
Very nice. Well, I have to ask you a question. How is your college vernacular? Do you speak the language? We put our Turner talent to the test.
I'm Allie. I'm going to be your college professor today.
I'm Zoya. Today I'll be asking you how much you know about college lingo.
I'm Troy. I'll be a college professor for today.
Not a good one.
Question number 1. What does it mean to be ghosted?
Ghosted? Ghosted.
Called out, maybe?
Somebody probably spooked me.
This is college lingo today?
Today.
I have no idea.
I think that means you're in a fog and you're kind of playing under the radar a little bit.
It's during Halloween when a kid leaves a candy bag at the door and knocks on your door and runs away.
You text her, she doesn't respond, she's ghosted you.
That's what that means?
I'm constantly ghosted by my kids. I've never been ghosted. I do the ghosting.
What is a Quavo?
Quavo.
What is a Quavo?
Oh, it's a great egg in the morning. It's a Mexican dish. It's unbelievable.
It sounds like a shot you would take at a bar.
The world's most interesting man's favorite drink?
It sounds like it might be a beer.
Oh, that's Cuervo.
Thought it was Jose Cuervo. Okay.
Isn't that a rapper?
Drop top. Raindrop.
I'm from Atlanta. That's the Migos.
He's friends with Offset and Takeoff. He's one of the members of Migos.
Migos.
Never heard of him.
I love those guys.
Can you throw shade?
Yeah, I can.
I made a career of throwing shade. Spike Lee, you little hobbit, stick to making movies. Is that throwing shade?
You threw some shade.
Okay, all right.
Your coach asked you to make a lit playlist.
A lit playlist?
What songs do you put on it?
My everyday with Nas, Hate Me Now. Every morning I play, because that let me know about all the haters that I'm gonna run into.
I would put Migos.
Walking in Memphis. It's one of my favorite songs. Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. It's a classic song.
Anything Bruno Mars does.
Have some Bruno Mars and...
Bruno's pretty lit.
He's pretty lit. Little Uzi Vert. It could go Migos, and then I could make a move to Barbra Streisand. Like, I'm very versatile. I can honestly say I've never heard any of those people.
Which of these terms is not a basketball term? A, box and one. B, cut to the post. C, slide into the DMs. D, up and under.
Slide into the DMs.
Slide into the DMs.
Slide into the DMs. Did I get that right?
Slide into the DMs.
Slide to the DMs.
Slide into the DMs.
Slide into the DMs is not a basketball term.
I like those direct messages. I just learned how to do that the other day for my daughter.
So what does direct messaging mean?
It happens all the time. I slid into my husband's DM. That's how I...
Oh, did it work?
Yeah, it worked.
Haven't we all slid into people's DMs before?
You know what? I just had someone slide into my DM. Yeah, you gotta get rid of them.
Okay, translate this sentence. My outfit is so on fleek today.
Oh, my outfit is on point.
I'm always on fleek. Fleet?
Fleek. Fleek.
I actually have never heard that.
My sneakers are fleek right now. You see these?
Well, anytime I'm on TNT, my outfit is fleeked.
That's foreign language to me.
Please use woke in a sentence.
Stay woke.
Do you know what woke means?
Yeah, I woke up.
I've been woke for a long time.
Stay woke.
You're really excited. Your crush is just swiped right. What emoji would you use to reach out to them?
She swiped right?
That's like a tender thing, right? Emoji's one of those like little faces, right?
Give me a second, I'm gonna call one of my kids.
Right is good, so that would be like a smiley face.
Emoji with the hearts and the eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
The one with the hearts coming out of their eyes, like this.
The power arm.
Smiley face?
I would probably do 3 hearts and 4 fires. Or maybe 5 fires.
I passed this. I
You did.
I was nervous,
You
man.
did.
I am so old.
Man, you kids be messing up. You millennials be messing up the vocabulary.
But I passed.
You passed. A+.
Thank you very much.
So, of course, right now our outfits are on fleek. We definitely know the college vernacular. Parrish, the legend, Andy Katz in the building. March Madness morning, getting you set.
We're woke.
We stay woke.
Yes.
Yes.
I never been anything but woke. I don't sleep.
Of course, we're going to keep this thing moving, having a good time, getting you prepared. Madness is about to kick off in less than about, 30 minutes or so. So let's take it to the next bracket. The East, that's where we're going. Out of all these teams, the matchup that you like the best, that is most intriguing.
Well, I'm not just being a shill here, but I do like the 8-9s, which they should be some of the best matchups. And Virginia Tech coming off blowing a 21-point lead to Notre Dame in the ACC tournament. Look, Buzz Williams will have his guys ready, locked in defensively to take on an Alabama team, which could be the most dangerous team in this entire bracket if they stay woke. Okay, led by Collin Sexton, who we'll talk about in a second. They have a chance to certainly advance.
So you mentioned Collin Sexton. Clearly that's a player that you like, someone who performed well in the SEC tournament. Is that your guy who can maybe put a team on his back and go in advance?
No question. I was at the most surreal game the entire year, the 5-on-3. And Minnesota was up double figures, I think 15, with 10 minutes left. The reason it came down to one possession was because of Collin Sexton. If you had 3 other guys, 3 jokers from the bench, this thing would have been 20 or 30. But you had Collin Sexton as one of the 3 who was on the floor. He scores 40, and he gets them right there with Minnesota. You saw what he did in the SEC tournament in St. Louis. He beat A&M on the last second shot. He certainly dominated Auburn in that second half. So Sexton is certainly a guy that can keep Alabama playing in this tournament. And if they advance and take on Villanova, I mean, he's the type of guard that could cause Villanova a lot of problems. Now, they need Dante Hall to be healthy to be able to board with the Wildcats, but if that matchup occurs, that certainly could be trouble for Villanova if Sexton is on and Avery's got his guys defending.
Well, we know Avery definitely will have those guys
Oh,
defending, of course. Now, a first 4 team has advanced every year since they added the first 4. Could the Bonnies potentially be that next team to carry that torch?
Well, they're not going to the Final Four like VCU, but I do think the Bonnies have a great shot to advance. In fact, I picked them. So I gotta trump that, there's no question about it. I got them beating Florida. They've got great guards in Matt Mobley and Jalen Adams. Stockard played out of his mind the other night.
Indeed, he did.
To knock off UCLA. Now, Adams did not play well against the Bruins, so you have to believe he's going to play much better against Florida. But I love the matchup with Adams and Chris Chioza for the Gators. He's done a great job, obviously, of being a late possession guy for Florida in his career, knocking off Wisconsin at the buzzer last year in the Sweet 16. If they can get by Florida, they certainly have the guards to beat either Texas Tech or Stephen F. Austin, and then who knows? Suddenly they're in the Sweet 16.
There it is. Katz very bullish on the Bonnies. So, of course, got to take it to Twitter. Another question coming in from our viewers on social media. So, does the Stephen F. Austin team have a fairly good chance upsetting Texas Tech, 2 teams from the Lone Star State?
Well, I just saw downstairs here Brad Underwood, who's going to be on True TV, former Stephen F. Austin head coach a couple of years ago, when the Lumberjacks certainly were a team that could advance deeper. I don't think that this team is as talented as that one. And if Keenan Evans is on and Texas Tech's defending the way that they can and have, I like Chris Beard's chances to get the Red Raiders past the Lumberjacks.
No doubt. We are about 10 minutes away before you're going to tune over to True TV and CBS to check out the games and the coverage beginning. But before we get out of here, we got one more bracket we got to tackle. We got to go to the Midwest. So let's put the brackets up on the screen. Mr. Andy Katz, what do you like out of all these matchups?
Well, the first game of the day.
There it is.
We saw them getting off the bus.
Yes, we did.
Rhode Island, Oklahoma, 7-10 matchup. Oklahoma struggled mightily down the stretch. When they are on, as we saw earlier in the season, they were one of the best teams in the country. Trae Young obviously leading the country in scoring and assists. He can be, as we mentioned, a guy that can carry their team deep, possibly to a Final Four, but they have not played well lately.
No, they
have not. By the way,
neither
of the Rams. The Rams hit a wall about 2 weeks ago, losing by, I think it was like 30 to St. Joe's at home. Then they lost to Davidson on the road, and in the A-10 tournament final on Sunday, they lost to Davidson again. So that is an intriguing matchup between two teams that at one point this season I had in my top 10 in the Power 36. They have fallen out. If they play the way they're capable, then both those teams could get to the Sweet 16.
Upsets. Let's talk upsets right now in this last Midwest bracket. What you see?
Well, I mentioned New Mexico State.
Of course.
I think they could get to the Sweet 16. But if there's ever going to be a 1-16, it could be today, okay? Seriously, all right? Because Penn may be the greatest 16 we've ever seen out of the Ivy League. I was really shocked that they ended up being a 16. This is a Penn team under Steve Donahue. If you remember, he took Cornell to the Sweet 16. This is his second go-around as a head coach in the Ivy. They just knocked off Harvard at the Palestra on Sunday. I'm not saying it will happen, but I do think we could have a comparable situation when we had Princeton, Georgetown many moons ago with Pete Carrill, and that was very close. But this could be one of those times where the number one could be sweating. Now watch, they'll lose by 30. But no, but I do think that the potential is there that this game could be a late possession game and keep Kansas on edge.
Everybody's waiting to see history be made. I personally would love to see that. But let's go back to New Mexico State. What exactly, just with that team, what do you like about that squad?
Well, they've got great length. They're very athletic. I saw them earlier in the year in the Diamond Head Classic, where there we go, look at this. I say Diamond Head Classic, we get highlights from the Stan Sheriff Center in Honolulu. They knocked off Miami in this game in the semis, and then they were right there to beat USC in the final. They also beat Illinois, Brad Underwood reference, in Chicago earlier this season. They've got, tremendous ability on the backboard. Just like I said, they're really long and rangy, and I do think they're going to cause problems for Clemson first, and then if it's either Auburn or College of Charleston. So I got them advancing.
Okay, all right, good deal. Well, another team that some people would like to see advance would be the Oklahoma Sooners. Everybody fell in love with Trae Young. He's put up crazy numbers, but as you stated, the team didn't necessarily play that well coming down the home stretch. Can they advance into the second round?
They can. They can go deeper.
How?
Well, first of all, it's a reset for them because the Big 12 really did swallow him up. Second half of the league, I think the scouting was all in on Trae Young. I'm not saying that Rhode Island wouldn't scout Trae Young. Of course they will. But the tendencies to sort of isolate him, as you see there, just to really frustrate, now he recovers there, but frustrate the passing lanes. I do think that it started to wear on him. And the rest of his team was pretty young. And so I think when you get a team like this that struggles in a rugged lead where it's a true round robin, when they free themselves of those same teams they've been facing for 2 months, I think that's very liberating for them. And I think there's a good chance that if they get by this first one, they'll have confidence. And then, as I check my bracket, don't have it all memorized. Look, if they ended up playing Duke, Duke's been beaten by BC, NC State, Virginia Tech, who knows? Assuming Duke gets by Iona.
There it is right there. So Trae Young, he has a lot of pressure on his back, but everybody likes him so far. And people want to see stories like this where guys put teams on their back, so it possibly could happen.
Yeah, I mean, he led the country in scoring and assists for a reason because he's that good.
He is that good. Twitter is that good as well. We're going to go to another Twitter question before we exit. And any chance for Q's to beat TCU? I thought yes, but that was before watching last night's horror show. Then again, that's been their offense all season. Mr. Dodger, 1966.
Well, first of all, Tyus Battle played well down the stretch. He's going to have to do that for 40 minutes, not just in the last couple of possessions. Probably what hurts Syracuse is they're going against a team, I should say a coach, that knows how to go against the zone very well. and that's Jamie Dixon, because he was able to play well against when he was at Pitt. Had they drawn an opponent with a quick turnaround, just a day's notice of trying to prepare for this zone, you know, it might have been a little bit more beneficial to Syracuse. Now, Jamie, I'm sure, was preparing his guys for the possibility that they'd be taking on Syracuse. They're going to be prepared for them. But once again, TCU's been all over the map. Since they lost Jalen Fisher, they've been erratic. And so this game probably could go down as a toss-up, based on the fact that TCU's been inconsistent down the stretch as well.
Shouts out to the Horned Frogs. Hold up, just got this in from our super producer, Cap. We have a bonus question coming in from Twitter. And whose name will Charles Barkley mess up first on air today?
Well, I don't know which. Let's see here. Which games do you think he'll mess up? Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, I'm not even going to try. There's a name on TCU.
Okay.
That
it stumped you.
I butcher it all the time.
So it's definitely going to get Charles.
Oh yeah. So, although that game's tomorrow, but anyway, TCU Syracuse. But,
I think this is a safe bet that he will mess up somebody else's name.
Yes.
I think that's a safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it has a lot of consonants and not a lot of vowels, you're in trouble.
Indeed it is. Of course, we got games coming up, but in the meantime, Cap, where are we going next? I missed what you just said. Final Four, that is the predictions. That's what everybody wants to know. We need to know, who are your Final Four teams?
Well, despite the injury to Hunter, I have Virginia getting out of the South. I have Michigan out of the West, Villanova in the East, and in the Midwest, I took Michigan State. So I had two Big Ten teams getting to the Final Four. Then I had a final of Villanova taking on Michigan and Villanova winning.
Villanova winning the championship. Yes. So that would be, what, the second championship within 3 years.
Now, of course, I reserve the right to reseed myself as we get to the Final Four.
Of course you do.
Yes.
I mean,
doesn't everyone?
What? Of course. I mean,
I don't believe in multiple brackets, but I do believe that once you get to the Final Four and you have different teams, then of course you can pick differently.
Very true.
You know, you can adjust.
Andy Katz fills out his brackets with pencil, not pen. Here's your first round schedule. Oklahoma, Rhode Island, that is the first game. Tennessee and Wright State. Out of all these games, which one are you going to be keying in on?
Well, the first and the fourth. The first one, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, I think that'll be the most competitive one. And I think everyone wants to see how Trae Young plays. And then the last one on this first slate of games, because the Quakers could end up being the best 16 that we've seen. By the way, don't just watch there. Make sure you've got us on your app on March Madness Live, because we are going to be on all day from 12:30 to midnight. That's me, Tony Delk, and Rich Wall. So we'll be dipping it in. If you like the red zone concept, you'll love this as well. Okay, you want another upset? Loyola Chicago, Miami. That could be an upset. We just popped that very quickly. Davidson, Kentucky. Look out for the Battle of the Wildcats there, because the Wildcats from Davidson have been playing great basketball in the A-10. Peyton Aldridge is a name that certainly could go off in that one. And then in this matchup here, we mentioned St. Bonaventure, Florida. I don't think the Grizz have enough to knock off Michigan, or the Bulls, not the Bills, taking on Arizona. Good chance for those that have not seen DeAndre Ayton from late night out west. You get a chance to see him in this matchup.
A number of stars will be on display, a lot of teams on display. Rhode Island ready to get things going against the Sooners. Today's coverage starts at 12 p.m. Eastern, CBS True TV. That's where you need to go. The madness is about to begin. Well, that wraps it up. It's March Madness morning. My name is Ro Parrish. Andy Katz is sitting next to me. And there are the guys ready to get things going.
Seth, Casey, Brandon, Candace, and Brad Underwood making his debut.
There it is. The madness begins. Enjoy.
Basketball unites the whole country.
This is the best